Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beaton, joined by the one, the only, the Fantasy Master Lothario. Hey, Albright, how's it going over there, Gray?
It's good, man. I had a bit of bad news today. It was good news for a minute, maybe good news for like 30 seconds, and then it became bad news. So, my lovely wife, Cougs, told me that her family has season tickets to the Pacers. So she was like, we're going to Indy for the NBA Finals, and I heard we're going. I didn't actually hear she's going, but for some reason I heard we're going. So I was like, oh my God, we're going to the NBA Finals. And she's like, no, I'm going. You're staying home. So yeah, that's where my head's at right now. I just found out that my wife is leaving me. Edit it right there. Edit it, because that's it. She's going to the NBA Finals without me. So, she tends to listen to the first couple minutes of the podcast. So, hey, baby.
There you go. Get the nicety in there too, Gray. That's a good way to cover. Somebody has to watch the dog, Gray. It's a basic function of life. You have somebody has to watch the dog. You wanted a dog, now you got to watch it. That's how it goes. And also, Gray, you couldn't name 3 players in the NBA Finals if your life depended on it. True. So there's a lot of money to spend on somebody who can't name a single player on the court. I'm just throwing that out there as maybe a possibility for a reason you were left off.
You know what? I actually have an idea. How about next week you do a podcast with my wife?
I bet people would listen. I bet people would love that.
How about you guys do a podcast next week and I take the week off? Huh?
We talk about the Pacers. I mean, they could be NBA champions by then if they just continue the run. We could complain about all the stuff that OKC gets away with. There's any number of topics I'm sure we could talk about.
It's funny,
or just you. Actually, that'd be a good one.
That's actually funny you say OKC because we're watching. Obviously we're watching the finals, and I'm so unfamiliar with NBA. She said something like, because I said, oh, nice shot, something like that. Something someone who's never watched basketball would say. I said something like nice shot. And she was like, that's OKC. You just said nice shot about oh, that's I hurt her personally. I damaged something that was in her soul. She says, oh, you're cheering on OKC now. And she said that. I was like, OKC? What does that mean? I was like, OKC, that sounds really silly. No one says that. And then immediately on the broadcast, they're like, OKC goes up by 15. I'm like, oh, OKC. I guess that is what people say. Okay. See.
Maybe I should just stick to baseball, not comment in basketball games ever again. Yeah. I mean, Gray, it's fine. It's okay that you got left at home. It's probably likely that the Pacers aren't winning, but they're pulling off a run here that's pretty miraculous. So I really hope that they do well. But yeah, I mean, I think a Cougs and Beat On podcast would do great numbers if we want to set that up. I'm sure we'd find plenty of topics that the audience would find interesting. Probably not baseball related, but very interesting.
You know how we're like a top 10 fantasy podcast in Korea? We would also become a top 10 podcast in like one of those remote regions where there's only women. And there's like, and they bring in a guy to mate with, and then they kill that guy. we would become a top 10 fantasy podcast there as well.
That's a very niche audience there, Gray.
Yeah. Unlike their fantasy audience in Korea.
They love baseball, Gray. I don't know what you're talking about. Clearly they make up a good portion of our fan base for number one there. Obviously,
you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You need to give them some respect, Gray. They will leave us. Go find somebody else.
Okay.
All right, Gray. Let's talk about somebody else that was disrespected, Gray, and that was Craig Kimbrel. He spent potential future Hall of Famer, probably not, just because it's hard for closers to go. But a Atlanta sports star was great for them. They made him spend time in the minors for a guy like him. They called him up. He got one game, and then they DFA'd him.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was
on the road, by the way. It's not.
Yeah. No, I was like, this was really bizarre because it was like, we'll talk about Saginaw later with the bullpens and like how bad the Braves bullpen is. But I was thinking like there was no way. Like, I'm on Saturday mornings. I'm on with Craig Mish, and he said to me, like, what would you bid for Kimbrel this week? This was before he got DFA'd. It was after he got called up before he got DFA'd. So it was like a real small window. And Mish asked me what I would bid in Fab for him, and I was like, I don't think any of my leagues allow me to bid negative numbers, so I won't be bidding on him. but with that said, so I acknowledge that Craig Kimbrel isn't very good. But with that said, like, why would the Braves bring him up? Why did they do that? That was so bizarre that they like brought him up just to like let him go. Like, what? Like, it was almost like I feel like Evan Longoria when he signs a ceremonial one-day contract with the Rays to retire as a Ray, he's gonna get more time with the Rays than Kimbrel got with the Braves. Like, what? Like, why would you do that to Craig Kimbrel just in general? Like, I understand he's not good. Obviously, that goes without saying. Really, but like, why would you call him up just to DFA him? It's like, it's so obnoxious as an organization. Like, where they like, okay, we're gonna give you a shot, and he like pitched. He pitched. I mean, and then they just let him go. Like, I don't get it, man. That was so like just on a purely human level. Like, honestly, like, I don't understand why they would do that to Craig Kimbrel. Like, it was almost like something you do to your worst enemy. It was like, oh yeah, we're calling you up. Okay, go out there and get him, killer. and he goes out there, and they're like, okay, you're done. You're done with it. You're done. Raciel Iglesias is terrible, but you're worse. Get out of here. It's like, why would you do that to a vet who pitched for you and like has so many, like, I don't know, it's just so bizarre. I don't know, unless there was something we didn't hear about, like they were doing it as like a ceremonial, like, hey, now you can retire as a like, but they didn't have like any sort of ceremony or anything. Like, I don't, why did they do that? It really is bizarre to me. Why would they have done that to him? I don't get it.
I have no answers, Gray. And again, it was on the road. Like, if it was at home, right, maybe you can get away with the like, okay, we wanted to give him one last hurrah, and like
in front of the crowd. They had one last hurrah in front of a road crowd.
You got the Rockies coming in this weekend. You couldn't have let him get one out in the Rockies series. Like, he could get 3 saves in the Rockies series and let him retire. Like, come on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I saw some people said it was like a great little like thing for him. Like, no, he had to go spend time in the minors traveling on buses, and then they called him up and DFA'd him on the road after actually doing okay in the game. I understand the velocity was terrible and like he was eventually going to go bad, but like I just don't understand the thought process here.
So
like he had great years with the Braves. Like the fans love him here. If he goes in the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't be surprised if he's now like, no, I'm not going as a Brave. That was terrible.
I know. It was so bizarre. It was like,
I really feel like the Braves are terrible about like acknowledging their stars in general. Like Freddie Freeman left and they were just like, yeah, he's gone. We're moving on. We don't care.
Right.
It's fine. Like even like Chipper Jones, like Maddox, Smoltz, like if it wasn't for Atlanta like radio, like it's not the team. Like the team does nothing for them.
Yeah. And then they have a manager, Brian Snicker, who doesn't even watch the games. That's his number one excuse when anything goes wrong. It's like, I wasn't watching. Like,
I was in the bathroom.
Was he not running out the double? I don't know.
Those pizza burgers really get through you, and I had 3 of them, so I didn't know what was going on. It's my bad. I think I'll just stick to Chick-fil-A now, except for Sundays. But it is what it is. I don't know. They said Snickers, safe, which is usually the last thing they say right before they fire somebody too. So just a collection of things going on.
He's not making it. If they don't start like winning games, he's not making it.
They have to. Like,
yeah.
How are they this bad? It doesn't make any sense. No. All right, great. We could ramble about this for a while. I know you and I can. We've already rambled enough. Let's get into it. There's actually a really big call up. It was made today, like it happened 2 hours ago that we got news of it, and that is Roman Anthony is coming up for the Boston Red Sox. William Abreu is going to the IL. He had been struggling. Whether that was part of the IL chip or not, I'm not sure. But in 58 games in AAA so far, Roman Anthony has 10 home runs, 3 stolen bases. He's hitting 288, 423, 491. He's got a 21% K rate, a 19% walk rate. He is the number 1 prospect on Itch's June update. What do you think about the Roman Anthony call? Add him everywhere?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. I think he's actually. I looked real quick to see. I heard the news, and then I looked at our RCL league, where the best chance of him actually being available was in that league. I thought, because that's like a 12-team mixed league, and I saw that you already had him. So if you had him already, I'm assuming you've had him for a while, right?
I drafted him, so yes.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. So that's what I'm saying, and that's a 12-team mixed league. So you drafted him, and then RCL, for people who don't play in it, who are listening to this, hello, one person in Korea. That league is really shallow to the point where like people churn at like the bottom 3 or 4 players on the team. So if you're holding Roman Anthony in that league, and I don't disagree that you shouldn't have been holding him. I mean, yeah, you hold the top prospect in a 12-team mixed league. So yeah, I think he's probably taken everywhere. I looked at I have a fab tool that Rudy set up for me. Thank you, Rudy. He set up this tool where I can input a name, and you put in your roster for every league you're in, and you input a name into this tool, and it tells you who has the player in your league or if they're available. And he was taken in every league. I mean, and that's leagues that are like anywhere from 12-team mixed league to, AL only. Like he's obviously an AL only zone. But anyway, he's off the I feel like he's off the board. I said people should buy him like about a month ago. I think if you were ever going to get him, probably at some point in May was the time you were going to get him. You're not getting him now. I mean, unless you're in a really shallow league where it's just like half the league is not paying attention. So yeah, I think Roman Anthony is probably rostered everywhere. But anyway, if he's not, you should pick him up. With all that said, I think probably the bigger question is probably what do we expect from Roman Anthony this year? It's very convenient that Wilyer Abreu went on the IL. It's a very very convenient injury. It's still so funny to me that the Mets GM Epler got in trouble for making up phantom injuries. Like every team doesn't make up like, oh, hey, Wilyer Abreu, you have a sore ankle. What? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do actually. I don't. Yeah. Actually,
you do. Or do you want to go play in Pittsburgh?
Or and then like Craig Breslow is hitting like a billy club, or we can make your ankle sore for you. It's right immediately after the Super 2 call-up day. It's like, oh, suddenly Roman Anthony is available to be brought up. So anyway, I think the bigger question is probably what we could expect from him. So to me, he looks like a power, slightly higher on power, but still speed too. I think I said in the preseason he's probably a 30-30 guy with good contact. So looking at 270 plus average, and that's for his rookie year. Obviously, as players get more comfortable, they hit for better average. So down the road, we're looking at a guy who could be a top 20 overall type fantasy threat with 30-30, 300, that kind of, that's what we're looking at down the road. For this year, I would say you prorate 30-30, looking at roughly 15-15, maybe 270. All these things are so many different factors when it goes into a rookie. Like, does he come up and struggle at first? Like we've said this so many times before, but if you look at Mike Trout, he struggled when he first came up. So it's not none of this stuff is linear. There could be a guy Roman Anthony who comes up and just hits the ground running and actually wins the Rookie of the Year in only, a little under 3.5 months or whatever. So there is a chance for that. That's possible. The other side of it could be a guy who's solid, but somewhat unremarkable his rookie year. Thinking 15-15, 270 over the course of, a little bit over 3 months, it's okay. I mean, that's fine. Some people might grow bored of that in shallower leagues. It's also the Red Sox aren't necessarily a team that is scared to run. So if he comes up and he doesn't hit for huge power, but Alex Cora is yeah, run. Who cares? I mean, then if he steals 25 bags in the matter of 3.5 months, then it's wow, that's really valuable in a certain respect for certain teams, for certain fantasy teams. That is, yeah, I like him. I think he's I don't know if it's him or say, Jack Caglione, totally different players, but and different needs, your fantasy team might need power over speed. So that could have some, bearing on what you decide between Caglione and Anthony. But if I were here right now saying this, Caglione could be better, absolutely, he could be better. Just in general, he could come out, hit 20 homers, hit 270, and have great RBIs. And Roman Anthony, struggles a little bit. That could happen. You never know what's going to happen. Do I think Roman Anthony is super talented? Absolutely. I think he could be a difference maker. He could be a number 3 outfielder as soon as this year.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the season, he could definitely be a number 3, even a potentially number 2 if he, like you said, just really just hits the ground running, starts putting up numbers immediately. The sky's kind of the limit with a guy like that. Let me throw some names at you, Gray, and see what your thoughts are here. Would you rather have? Would you drop Adolis Garcia to grab up Roman Anthony?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's move up the list. Would you rather have Roman Anthony or Michael Harris II?
Yeah. Michael Harris II has been a guy who I have never really liked.
No.
you know, like in the preseason, I was saying don't draft him. I had him ranked lower than everyone. With all that said, I'd probably go Michael Harris II over Anthony, just because he's more established. Has, you know, we've seen the ability there with Michael Harris II, so I'd probably go him. Do I think they're probably super close? Yeah, I mean, they could be very close. Anthony could even be better than him, but yeah, I would go Michael Harris II.
Okay. How about terribleness in an encapsulated Brenton Doyle?
Yeah, no, I think unfortunately, I think Brenton Doyle has Nolan Jones disease, and I don't know if there's a cure for it. I think you got to move on from Brenton Doyle. I think we've reached the point where it's time to move on. Unfortunately, I was thinking of one that I don't know if you had this on the list to ask me, but Brian Reynolds has really struggled. He would be a tough one to let go for Roman Anthony, but I could see it working.
I think if it's shallow enough, if it's a 10-team league, or maybe even in the RCLs, if he's available, and that's Brian Reynolds is just your worst performing outfielder, I could see doing it. But it's really hard to let go of just like consistent, 85 runs and RBIs average. That's usually solid. And he kind of gets there one way or another every year to like 24 home runs. So I still think he's going to end up in that 24, 260, 85 type of number. And if that's useful in your league, it's fine. I think Roman Anthony brings more upside just in general, because Reynolds has never been an upside play.
Yeah, no, definitely. Roman Anthony probably would be like, if you were redrafting today, I would say Brian Reynolds and Roman Anthony probably wouldn't be separated by that much in a redraft. Like right now, if you were to redraft. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think so. That's like roughly, I don't know, a little bit around like 100 overall, I guess, would probably be.
Yeah, that's usually the Brian Reynolds sweet spot, is like 89 to like 120.
Yeah,
depending on the league, like right around 100 in an average.
right.
Yeah.
So that's probably like around where Roman Anthony would probably go. So yeah, I mean, they're probably a toss up. Roman Anthony has more upside, like like we said, more speed. Probably has potential to have the same amount of power as Brian Reynolds. So you're really just like you're banking off of like what versus what you don't know. It's like upside versus kind of what you expect, even though Brian Reynolds hasn't been exactly what anyone's expected so far.
No, he hasn't. He has not been that good. One last one. Would you take Roman Anthony or his teammate Ceddanne Rafael?
Roman Anthony for sure. Yeah,
I mean, I assume so. Just the
Roman Anthony is like roughly in the 80 to 110 overall range for a redraft right this second. That means he's Rafaela is like 225, 250 overall in that range. So yeah, I mean, no question. It's like, Brian Wu or Brian Wu would be after him too. I don't know. It's like
Seiya would be in that kind of area. Yeah, maybe not now. Not after this season he's having, but like, or like in that draft area.
Number one closer. Like if you can get
your former boy Bo Bichette would be in that area. Ian Happ. Would you rather have Ian Happ or Roman Anthony?
I think I'd go Roman Anthony. I think, but I mean that's close. I don't know. It's very similar. Like Mike Trout, Roman Anthony. These are toss ups, kind of like, but they're close. I mean, I think he's in that that range of like where you drafted a number 3 outfielder kind of, and has the chance to be a number 2, like you said, or sort of like has the chance to be like, a
who's like to be demoted when Willie Abreu comes back from his
Mark Vientos went in that general area of a draft, and he's been terrible. So it's like, potential flame out or potentially solid and, really good.
Yeah. Yep. Who would have thought we would say drop Mike Trout for a rookie? That's some changes in time there, Gray. Yeah. Let's move on to some more prospects, Gray. There's a bunch of call-ups and recalls. Cole Young was called up by Seattle, number 29 on Itch's prospect list. Again, he updated that at the beginning of June, so go check that out. AAA this year, 54 games, 5 home runs, 4 stolen bases. He has hitting 277, 392, 461. He is an 11.4% strikeout rate and a 12.7% walk rate. What do you think about Cole Young? Are you grabbing him in every league as well?
Yeah, I mean, I was, but I don't think anyone else was. I don't think anyone cared, really. I got him for nothing. I was a little surprised by that. I expected a little bit more of a bidding frenzy, but maybe not frenzy, but something. A bidding something. Yeah, I mean, he looks decent. He's got power, speed. Make solid contact because he was in the minors at least. It's a small sample size for the time he's been with the Mariners so far. Unfortunately, it is the Mariners, so that's a terrible park. So that hurts it's going to hurt his power. That isn't really that extreme to begin with. His hard hit looks terrible so far. Again, it's only 8 games as of the recording of this, so yeah. I mean, he looks like he's worth a shot in like 15-team mixed leagues and deeper, just to see if he catches on or he starts stealing bases. But right now, he doesn't look very good.
No, the start of his professional career has not gone exactly to script. That being said, he's really kind of a speed and average guy, so he's not really going to provide a lot of power anyways. You weren't really counting on that. I think on the good side, it'd be, I don't know, kind of like Anthony Volpe with better average or better plate discipline at least. But I think that's probably a bit away from like what I actually expect from him. That's just the imagine it. What does it look like? And maybe it's like Anthony Volpe.
That sounds like pie in the sky.
Yeah.
But not gonna happen type comparison. I would say like Willie Castro, maybe. I will see. I mean, hopefully he's Anthony Volpe. I think more realistically, he's probably Willie Castro, which is fine in some leagues. But I don't even know if he's that as of right now. Right now, he's struggling and isn't really I think Willie Castro has a place in some 12-team mixed leagues where Cole Young doesn't right now.
No, I mean, that's probably fair. Yeah, like I said, that was just if everything happens to click. I think that's kind of where he could end up at. But yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to. Again, it's like I think Volpe's tools are much louder. I just think Cole Young just has a much better plate discipline set. Maybe a bad pull on my part. So we'll just ignore that one and pretend I never said that. And we'll move on to the next guy, which is Kyle Teel, who was called up by the White Sox.
Who is exactly like Anthony Volpe. No.
8 home runs, 7 stolen bases, 295, 394, 492, 25.5% K rate, 14% walk rate. And so far seems to be the primary catcher for them since his call up, hitting 5th or 6th. I mean, you got to put your top prospect behind Chase Beedroth and Andrew Benintendi and Mike Talkman. You definitely can't get him as many at bats as possible. What are your thoughts on Kyle Teel?
I don't really love I'm not a catcher guy in general, so I don't really like. As soon as a guy comes up and he's like a catcher, it dulls me a little bit. It dulls my excitement a little bit. Like Augustine Ramirez, I feel like he got called up, and I don't think I was as excited about him as I probably should have been because he's a catcher, and it just was like, he's a catcher. Who cares, So I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to have that same sort of reaction just because Kyle Teel is a catcher. I do wonder if they're actually right now on roster resource, they're saying that Teel is platooning, which is crazy. I mean, if he's really obviously with a catcher, he's going to sit occasionally just to get rest. He's only going to play, 4 or 5 games a week. So that's fine. But I really hope that he's not actually getting platooned out versus lefties, which that would be just stupid. Like if, for instance, there's a difference between a catcher resting every 4th or 5th day versus a catcher who, if the team is facing 3 lefties in a row and that catcher is then sitting for 3 games in a row, that's stupid. That should not happen. I hope that is not what's happening with the White Sox. I don't know for sure. I usually trust roster resource to be on top of that. So I don't know. Maybe that is what's going on. With all that said, he makes great contact. He has power and speed, as you mentioned. He looks rosterable in every fantasy league that is 12-team mixed and deeper if you have a need for a catcher, right? So if you're I was looking actually. So in this week in Fab, is that a Johnny Bench show? This week in Fab, Kyle Teel came up and I bid $20 on him, willing to drop Francisco Alvarez. So that's sort of where I'm at with him. That's not, Francisco Alvarez, and that's a 2-catcher league. So Francisco Alvarez isn't that terrible of a catcher for me to be dropping. He has been pretty bad this year. Don't get me wrong. He hasn't been great, but I think, that sort of shows where I'm at with Kyle Teel. That's roughly around maybe I would say the 15th to 17th catcher off the board, Francisco Alvarez. So I'm saying that Kyle Teel could be better than that. I felt like it was worth a fab bid in order to see maybe if upside is there. If Kyle Teel is hitting, 5th or 6th in the White Sox lineup, that's more valuable than a catcher who's hitting 9th. But it's also, there's a little bit of, there's potential there for Kyle Teel to come up and struggle and, maybe get sent down. Who knows? There's always risk with rookies like that. So I don't know. All that said, I like Kyle Teel as a flyer for upside. I don't really know if he's going to you look at the projections from other people, and the projections are saying 5 homers, 4 steals, hitting 250, which is it's okay. It's not really that exciting, but there is some quote unquote upside potentially. So I don't mind the flyer on him if you're struggling to find, any sort of production from your catcher, even in a 1-catcher league. If I for instance, Francisco Alvarez, if I had him in a 1-catcher league, I would be fine dropping him for Kyle Teel just to see if I get some upside maybe. But then if you a guy who's actually performing, I don't know, who's not good, but actually performing. So say a Tyler Stevenson, I would probably go with Tyler Stevenson over Kyle Teel. If Tyler Stevenson was, if he's hitting, which he is, I think he was on my buy in my buy column last week because he was a top 3 catcher for the week. So yeah, a long way of saying I don't mind Kyle Teel, but I don't know if there's really all that much there, at least for our purposes. Maybe the 15th catcher off the board if you were redrafting.
Yeah, I think maybe the exciting thing about Teel is that he can actually give you a little bit of power and speed from catcher, which is really weird. And a little bit of power and a little bit of speed from a catcher can end up being kind of a big deal. If he can go, instead of 5.5, he goes 10.10, then all of a sudden that's like somebody who's getting drafted as a top 5 catcher next year, and way ahead of where we're drafting any catchers. And I tend to actually go the other way, where especially in 2 catcher leagues, I get excited about the catcher call-ups maybe more than I should be, because you and I have drafted such terrible catchers. So there's usually at least one that I'm like, okay, I can get rid of this guy and at least take a chance on one of these rookies. But yeah, I think you should go ahead and take a chance if you're peddling out a consistent struggler, like I don't know. I have Jonah Heim, and I know I'm starting to get frustrated with him. I know I shouldn't. The numbers for the season are fine, but like, if I have Jonah Heim in a 1 catcher league and Kyle Teel's there, I'll probably do that. In a 2 catcher league, it'd probably be more on Jonah Heim, but that's kind of the difference between the two, I think. Let's move over to Philadelphia, where they called up Otto Kemp as Bryce Harper goes to the IL. 58 games this year. He had 14 home runs on stolen bases. He had 313, 416, 594. He had a 25% K rate and a 9.3% walk rate. What are your thoughts on Otto Kemp? I mean, the numbers at face value sound really good, Gray, but what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I was surprised at how I was able to get him in my Tout Wars league, NL only. So that's deep, 12-team NL only. So it's very deep. I was able to get him for like $12 out of 1,000. I was kind of surprised by that. It felt light. I bid on everyone who gets called up just to keep people honest. I guess no one else needed him. I don't know. I was surprised though I was able to get him for so cheap. So he doesn't really have a prospect pedigree that I'm aware of, at least, because Itch never went over him. So if I see Itch never mentioning a guy, I'm assuming he wasn't much of a prospect. It looks like, if anything, maybe he's a quad A type guy. He's 25, so you would assume he would have been called up already if he was anything special. There might be something to the fact that he was behind Bryce, so he didn't really have a place to play. He's also behind Alec Baum. Because I think naturally he's a third baseman. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. In an NL only league, I don't mind the flyer. I would assume he's going to play. I mean, he's a righty. So my assumption is he's going to play against everyone. I mean, it'd be really bizarre for him to be benched against righties and only play against lefties. Like, why bother? So I don't know. I think he's going to play against everyone. So that's good. He has power and speed, and he hit for average, at least in AAA. But again, he was 25 years old in AAA. So it's a little bit it's like, a little bit old for that level. So I would say give him a shot in an NL only, and maybe in a 15-team mixed league if you're really struggling at corner. But in shallower than that, I can't imagine he really plays unless he gets hot and then he becomes a schmatado and you end up just grabbing him, because he's a hot bat. But as of right now, I don't think there's any reason to look at him in a 12-team mixed league or shallower.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what his eligibility is going to be in everywhere. He should have third base across the board, but I know in some of my leagues he has second as well. And as we've discussed before, Gray, second base is just horrendous. So there's a possibility that you have been starting a very terrible second baseman or middle infielder.
Well, I wouldn't mind. For what it's worth, he's third base in my Tout Wars. I don't know. Okay. He might have second base somewhere, but in my league, he's third base.
Okay. I was looking at RCL and Fantrax. He has second and third there. And so, if you're trotting out like a Colt Keith or a Brett Beatty, who's been just horrendous, I could definitely see making the swap and just seeing if Otto Kemp can put something together. He got caught stealing, but at least he's already got a stolen base attempt in a couple of games. So it's worth monitoring and checking out if he does have that.
If he's playing for at least for a deep league, if he's playing, that has value. And also, if a guy comes up and he's playing, you would think like he's already been caught stealing, like you mentioned. So maybe he's got a fire under his butt to like prove that he's worth being in the majors. At 25 to finally get called up, he might be like, let's go.
This might be it. This might be the one shot that he gets, to really do it. So I don't hate the flyer if you're just starting nonsense at middle infielder or just somebody who's not performing at all. But I think that's kind of where we're at.
I was starting Chrisitan Herrera in my league, so I was starting absolute nonsense for sure.
Yeah. So there you go. In that case, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Let's move on to our next guy here. Ronny Mauricio called up by the Mets. Mark Vientos goes to the IL with just general awfulness. AAA this year, Mauricio has 19 games, 3 home runs, 6 stolen bases. He's hitting 323, 384, 508. He's done with AAA. I mean, he's been called up before. He was number 5 on his just preseason Mets prospect list. He's getting utility, infield, and DH work so far since getting called up. What's your thoughts on Ronny Mauricio? Would you pick him up as a direct replacement potentially for Mark Vientos if you were still starting Mark Vientos?
Usually I feel like we go in order of bigger names to smaller names. I think Ronny Mauricio is above Otto Kemp. I like Ronny Mauricio. I think he's probably even maybe above Kyle Teel and Cole Young. I would say maybe just below Roman Anthony for how much I like Ronny Mauricio. I think he's up for good. Like even Vientos returns, like they have Acuna who wasn't really doing anything. Brett Beatty, who seems like he can't really hit major league pitching. Ronny Mauricio, for at least my money, looks like a decent prospect. I mean, he had a bad injury last year, so he lost all of 2024, came back 2025, looked great in the minors, showed good power, good speed, hit for a good average, got called up, and is doing the same in the majors. So I think Ronny Mauricio could be a difference maker, especially with his eligibility being, MI. I would say, like I mentioned at least earlier, Willie Castro. I mean, that's sort of where I'm at with Ronny Mauricio. I think Willie Castro has been hot recently, but I'd probably go Ronny Mauricio just for upside. I think looking at a maybe top 20 MI potentially. I don't know. I like him. I think the power and speed it looks legit. So, and he's never really struggled to hit for a good average. Like he's always made good contact in the minors and is continuing to show that. So I like Ronny Mauricio a decent amount.
All right. Would you rather have Ronny Mauricio or Hee-Sung Kim?
I would go Mauricio.
Would you rather have him or Carlos Correa?
I would go Mauricio.
Okay. Trevor Story.
Oh God, Mauricio. Oh God, Trevor Story.
Yeah, that's not great there. Let's go with I assume like Glaber, you're still going Glaber, right?
Yeah. For now,
he's the number 20 middle infielder on the player rater, so a combined second base, shortstop. Yeah. That's not necessarily middle infielder. It's more like he'd be like 35 somewhere, but yeah.
I mean, he's been he struggled recently, but yeah, probably Glaber, sure.
Speaking of 35, Andres Jimenez.
Oh. Jimenez has been awful. I'd go Ronny Mauricio.
Okay. So I think we got a good place for where you like. I mean, you like some Ronny Mauricio. I think I would probably have him definitely behind Roman Anthony, probably behind Cole Young, and then like him and Kyle Teel, depending on how much I needed a catcher versus a middle infielder. But part of that, I think, is they've already sent him down once. They waited for the Phantom IL stint to bring him back up. Like, does he have a spot in the lineup secured versus, some of these other call-ups seem a little bit more assured? Not Otto Kemp. I think he's probably back once Harper comes back, unless, he really does just kind of smash. But yeah, I like Ronny Mauricio. I think you're a little bit higher on him. But yeah, it could be a very nice replacement for Mark Vientos. Moving on, Ian Seymour is called up by Tampa Bay. In AAA this year, he had 61 innings, 11 starts, 2.95 ERA, 1.20 WHIP, 32.7% strikeout rate, and a 5.8% walk rate. However, they have not designated him as a starter or a reliever, so we're not really sure what his role has looked like, or at least I haven't seen. What are your thoughts on Ian Seymour?
You put together the outline. Obviously, I don't do nothing, but I didn't even really know Ian Seymour prior to reading the outline. To be totally honest, I wasn't aware of him. And then so I started looking him up. He does look, and he looks good. I mean, I'm not, I think there is something to, like, his numbers pop off the page from his minor league numbers recently, but he's also 26 years old at those AAA numbers. So I don't know if he's like, he looks like the Rays are using him as a long man out of the pen. So until like Taj Bradley comes down with a phantom injury, or Shane Baz or anyone actually in the Rays rotation, someone's due for a phantom injury there outside of Rasmussen. Yeah, I don't mind him for now as a hold / like middle reliever, but I don't know if there's anything else really there, because like he was old for his level in the minors. So I don't know. Ian Seymour to me looks like a watch and wait, unless it's an AL only and you're taking a flyer on a guy who maybe makes his way into the rotation. But I don't think he's in the rotation right now.
Yeah, I don't know if he is or not. I hope that he gets a chance to, but I agree. He's probably just a long arm for now. In Tampa, that's almost the same thing at this point. I don't know. I kind of just brought him up because, again, the numbers look really good at like every stop along the way, Gray. Not a guy that has any prospect buzz, and honestly, he just kind of popped up in my feed, and I just started looking at the numbers like, oh, he might have some random Rays magic and just put together a good season. He's always had high strikeout rate. He's not a power pitcher, but he works off of like fastball change. Just somebody I thought would be worth mentioning for deeper leagues and somebody to keep an eye out on, because the numbers have been spectacular.
Okay.
All right, Gray. Now that we finally got the number one prospect called up, who are you stashing now?
Let's see. I think Chase Burns, Bubba Chandler. It was actually who I actually do have. I those were names I was saying because you listed them. And also I said them because like a lot of people are stashing those guys. And I know I read Itch's stash list from Sunday had those names on there. So it's like I was saying names that people should stash. With that said, a guy who I actually do have stashed, a player who I have on a team, actually two players on a team that are stashable. So I have Andrew Painter, which I have no idea what's going on there. I hope Luzardo or someone else comes up with something and Painter comes, but somehow Mick Abel seemed to hurdle Painter up to the majors. So I don't know. But Andrew Painter looks like he could be really good. I don't know where he is. Oh, actually, I lied. I have three guys stashed. So I have Andrew Painter stashed. I have Bryce Eldridge stashed. So he looks incredible. Giants. just DFA'd Lamonte Wade, and no sooner do you say that the Angels then were like, we need him.
Definitely got to add him.
The Angels are like, what did you say? You got rid of Lamonte Wade Jr.? Oh, come on, man. He's amazing. The Angels love a discard. Anyway, Bryce Eldridge looks like incredible, probably for 2026. I don't know when he's coming up, but the Giants did DFA Lamonte Wade Jr. and have like nothing really. No reason not to like promote Eldridge quickly. I mean, he could come up. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens there. And also I have Jacob Mizorowski. I've had him stashed for like a month. I don't know what the Brewers are doing there. Like he looks more than ready to come up. I don't know if he's coming though. I honestly, I feel like I get discouraged with Jacob Mizorowski because I feel like he should have already been up. So like, what are the Brewers dragging their heels over? Like, bring him up already. Like, it's so stupid. Just like, if nothing else, let him throw long relief and get like some incredible long relief innings from him or something. I don't know. But anyway, I have those three stashed. I meant someone in the comments they mentioned that they have Chandler Simpson stashed, which I don't hate that if you really need steals, but I don't know why they would call him up. Like, it's not like he went down because he couldn't play defense. So it's not like the Rays are going to be like, oh yeah, he learned how to play defense in 3 games. Here he is again. Like he went down to learn defense. He's not going to come back in a week. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he does come back quickly, but I just don't see it. I mean, I'd be shocked if he's back before the trade deadline, like, and that's like end of July. Like, so do you really want to stash someone for that long? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a off chance that they kind of stashed him so he wouldn't even have a chance at Rookie of the Year, because the NL's there's nobody really going for the NL Rookie of the Year. I guess it'd be like Drake Baldwin and Augustin Ramirez and Mick Abel. Like that's your leaders for Rookie of the Year right now, I think. So I really don't know why they sent him down. Maybe his defense was that bad, but I just think it was it didn't seem like that. Like what he does is what he does.
You're talking like, NL. You're saying NL Rookie of the Year and Chandler Simpson's in the
yeah. Sorry. Yep, that was the wrong
that's okay.
Wrong side there, but that,
I know what you meant. Yeah. No, I hear you.
But even AL, like nobody's running away. Like Tags has been up for a minute, like literally a minute. Jason Dominguez sucks. Christian Campbell sucks. Marcelo Mayer sucks. Nick Kurtz is hurt.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier in the show, Roman Anthony really could win the AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he could. Like easily, if he just starts hitting and doesn't suck like every other call up, he could just take the AL Rookie of the Year right now. Absolutely, Gray. A couple of guys I wanted to ask you about before we kind of move on. Joe Adell, he's just mashing everything. 5 home runs since May 31st. Since May 1st, he has 9 home runs. He's hitting 256, 354, 605. Are we finally getting Joe Adell, or is this just one of the teases that we've gotten over the years?
I think it's probably just a tease. I've been burned so many times on Joe Adell that I really don't see him ever really developing into a major league player. Maybe at the end of the year you get like what did he do last year? So he had 20 homers and stole 15 bags and hit 207 last year. If he does that again, is that a win? I mean, that sounds like that's kind of like, other than the steals, he's sort of on the same pace. Maybe hits 215 or 220 instead of 207, but I don't know. I mean, 20 homers, 5 steals, because he's only stolen 2 bags so far. So 20 homers, 5 steals, 220. Is that a win? I don't know. I feel like Joe Adell is just like, he's become like, he's a bit of a meme at this point. Like, I don't think anything. I don't know. I don't really buy into Joe Adell. I've stopped buying in like years ago. He seems like he's been hot. I mean, since May 31st, as you mentioned. I mean, he's been hot for roughly 10 days. That's fine. I just don't think anything's really changed with him.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think you're mostly right. I do think there's maybe a little improvement from what he did last year, and just like I think the average will come up from 207. He's hitting the ball harder. He's striking out less. These are good things. He's making more contact. All good things. So I think he's getting a little bit better, but I agree. I don't think we're ever going to get the Joe Adell that we thought we were going to get it when we saw this tooled up, kid coming out at like 17. The Angels played with him so much that I don't even know if it's him or the Angels at this point. So yeah, that's unfortunate. How about another guy who started the season poorly, got hurt? And I didn't really know what to do with him, Gray, and that is Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand. He has been back for 3 games. He had 3 home runs. We got 63 games of, I'll call it solid work in 2023. In 2024, he gave us less than 30 games of just pure disappointment. And then this year, it's been 15 games of disappointment, followed by 3 games of he's not in my lineup. Damn it. What's your thoughts on Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand? I actually use this to trade him in a dynasty league.
Are you using our podcast to work trades? Beat on.
I already moved him, Gray. He's already gone. There's no additional benefit at this point. We should do like that would actually be a good a cameo. I wonder if there's a market for this. So we set up a cameo where like people say like, I want you to say on video that Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand is better than a healthy Alex Bregman. And say that on camera so I can then play it to my league mate and then trade him Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand. Is there a market for this? Sound off in the comments if there is. I'm happy to do that, or Patreon or whatever.
I'm happy to work with my audience here. You know what? It's like whatever you guys need. It's like, if you need me to say on video, Bubba Chandler's better than Paul Skeens, just tell me. I'll do it. Just pay me. I think Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand actually is kind of interesting. This isn't for a cameo. This is for me actually saying something. I think Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand has like really good contact this year at least, and it's like under 20 games, so a little bit of a small sample size, but he's making really good contact. He's a bit unlucky on the BABIP. So if he's hitting 260, right now he's hitting 229. But if he's going to hit 260, which his numbers say he could, so if he hits 260 with his power, because he does have like 25 homer power from this point forward. I mean, he's got really big power. So 25 homers, 260, I mean, that's basically Christian Walker, or at least what you were hoping from Christian Walker, which you're not going to get at this point. So yeah, I wrote up Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand in my post this morning, Monday. I like what I'm seeing in the numbers under the hood. So unlike Joe Adell, where I was really pretty meh on, Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand's really interesting to me. I think he could be potentially breaking out. I mean, he's still young enough, and he hits like every time whenever he's healthy, he's hitting for power everywhere. So that's not an issue. It's just a matter of him hitting for a decent average. And he did that in 2023, like you mentioned. And it looks like he's doing it this year, just been a bit unlucky. So yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, a lot of the numbers line up with that 2023 season, like hard hit, average exit velocity, swinging strike rate's actually down. Contact rate is back kind of in line with that, or even higher than that. Home run to fly balls in line. So like a lot of numbers kind of lining up with that 2023 that we thought we were going to get last year that didn't happen. Injuries hurt him last year, and he just took a little step back. It's looking good right now. I didn't love making the deal, honestly. I've always liked Strand, but I needed some support in my pitching staff. I am like top 3 across the board in every offensive category and middle pack across the board in pitching. And that league is very top heavy. So I have to come after the itch. When you're in a dynasty league with your prospect guy, it can be challenging.
Who'd you get for Strand again?
I traded Strand for a 2nd round pick along with who did I get? I got Matthew Boyd, Paddock, 100 in Fab, and a 2nd round pick. So it was fine. I think it's a fine trade. I got what I needed, and I got a pick for next year, so I'm not just completely throwing away my future as well.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad. It sounds fair.
Yeah, and I think you've already nailed the spectrum of Christian and Encarnacion-Strand. It's somewhere between what you expected from Christian Walker and healthy Alex Bregman, obviously, Gray, which we're saying on camera. So you can go ahead and send that money over for us. Thank you. Random XXX3. Yeah, thank you. Let's Sagnoff it up, Gray. Dodgerland. Kopech comes back, finishes a game on Sunday. It was a 4-run lead. Do you think this is maybe signaling a closer change or just an easy spot to get his first work of the season?
I don't know. I kind of read into it that it seemed like a position where you would use a closer. Like the lineup turned over. So he faced the top of the lineup. He started with the nine hitter, but he ended up facing the top of the lineup. And it was a 4-run lead, and Tanner Scott was used in the 8th. So it was like he was already off the table. So if there was any, like if Tanner Scott gave up a run, the guy who was there was going to be Kopech. So that felt to me like Dave Roberts was signaling that Kopech is going to be the closer, at least 60-40 between him and Tanner Scott. And Tanner Scott's been so terrible, but Kopech also, we'll see how healthy he remains. So yeah, I don't know. Right now I have both of them actually in one league, our RCL league. I picked up Kopech. I have Tanner Scott still. So I'm holding both of them until it becomes a little bit clearer. But I think Kopech might be the closer, or at least have the lion's share of the job.
Yeah. I think it might be more than just an easy spot for work, Gray. I don't know if I'll call it a closer change, but I definitely think he's going to get a share of the work here. Another struggle of East Coast, living here. I have to deal with you being on the West Coast, seeing Kopech do that, and me being long asleep. Arizona.
I mean, it was probably over at 5 p.m. your time since it was Sunday. But yeah.
I'm just complaining, Gray. Just let me.
I understand you go to sleep at 4 p.m. So
let me complain, okay? That I never get anybody in our RCL because as soon as the news hits, like 7 people have already gone to check if he's there. It's very annoying. Over in Arizona, Shelby Miller got a save last week. He and Justin Martinez both have a save here in June. Do we think this is a committee? Do you think they just both are terrible and they're gonna not give anybody the title so that they don't turn really, really bad? What's the thought?
My gut says that Justin Martinez is the closer, but because he had a struggle a couple weeks ago. He actually went onto the IL because he was struggling to bounce back after he was pitching multiple days in a row. So my guess is Justin Martinez is the closer, but he can't throw that many days in a row. So Shelby Miller will see his share of saves as well. And he's been good. I mean, Shelby Miller is actually worth rostering in most leagues just because he's been good. And he also should get a handful of saves. So, I think they're trying to manage Justin Martinez's workload is my guess.
Okay. So you're hanging on to Justin Martinez primarily, and Shelby Miller's just kind of a if you've got a spot, a daily type of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Raisel Iglesias still may close games, but they've announced he's not the primary closer. And it's definitely not Craig Kimbrel. So who are you grabbing, Gray?
Actually, I was laughing at Roster Resource has the entire bullpen as the closer. Yeah, I don't, actually, I had Pierce Johnson slowly cross his legs. I had Pierce Johnson in NL only, and I dropped him, and I regretted it briefly. And then he gave up like runs every outing this past weekend, and I regretted it a lot less. So yeah, I don't know. And he's a righty, so that's that was my first thought. And then, I think Dylan Lee has looked the best, but he's a lefty, so that's not good. Aaron Bummer, name aside, has actually been okay, but he's a lefty as well. So I don't know. It's a tough situation to figure out because Razzball Iglesias has been awful, but no one behind him has really stepped up and been very good. I guess Dylan Lee would probably be the one guy I would roster outside of Razzball Iglesias in most 12-team mixed leagues and shallower. If you're really struggling for saves, I think Dylan Lee. I would hold on to Razzball Iglesias, but I would probably hold on to him on my bench. And then in a 15-team league, I'd probably open that up until a 15-team mixed league. I'd probably have Razzball Iglesias, Dylan Lee, and Pierce Johnson. But again, I'd probably be benching all of them to see if someone emerges, unless you're really struggling for saves and you have to get someone. But in most leagues, I would just bench them and see what happens. And maybe Dylan Lee gets 2 clean saves this week. And then, you miss those 2 saves, but then at least you have some idea of what the Braves are going to be doing. And next week you can start Dylan Lee or something. So I don't know. I'd probably bench them all, but my guess is Razzball Iglesias, Dylan Lee, and then Pierce Johnson.
Yeah, I would also potentially look at Enyel De Los Santos. He's been very solid this year. And just if they're going off of who's pitching well right now, it's not been Pierce Johnson. I do think he's probably above De Los Santos just in Snicker's head in the order. But eventually Johnson's going to keep blowing stuff if he's going to. So Enyel De Los Santos in leagues where, everybody's just grabbing everything that's even close to being related to a save could be somebody that's interesting really deep down. Over in Milwaukee, Trevor McGill blows his save. He gets a win, though. Are you concerned about his job at all? His numbers have not been spectacular, but he's still kind of getting the job done.
I think I said this in my BiCom on Friday that I think I wouldn't be shocked if McGill gets traded at the deadline. So I think Abner Uribe is worth rostering. He's worth rostering in general because he's been so good. And I wouldn't be shocked to see McGill get traded and Uribe take over. So but that's down the road, 5-6 weeks from now. So, it depends on how deep the league is and how desperate you are. But with all that said, I think McGill is still the closer. And I don't see that changing unless he blows 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah. I mean, he does blow 1 in every 3, but it seems to be good enough for them for the time being. Like you said, he may get moved. I definitely don't mind grabbing Uribe either. All right, Gray, on to waivers. Give the people some bats. I'll give them some arms, and we'll get out of here.
Oh, okay. So we mentioned these guys earlier: Joe Adell, Chrisitan, Encarnacion-Strand. Been hot, been great, rosterable. Joe Adell, at least for now, and Chrisitan Encarnacion-Strand looks like for potentially for the season. Hopefully, if he stays healthy. Okay, so then Jesus Sanchez. He's been either somewhere in the top 3 in the Marlins lineup, which I guess that's not that that's not that great of an endorsement. But Jesus Sanchez has been hot. He's number 3 on the 7-day player rater for the last week for guys under 100% rostered. So there's that. Jeff McNeil's been hot. Marcus Semien. Wow, what happened with him? He's been hot though. So hot Semien. Willie Castro, been talking about him a lot this week. He's been hot. Jonathan India's been hot. Abraham Toro, delicious. He's also been hot. Brooks Lee's hot. Michael Bush has been hot. Max Muncy. Both of them have been kind of hot. The Dodger one has been hotter than the Sacktown one, but the Sacktown one's probably more available. Okay, so then Chris Taylor, Angels, man. The Angels can do no wrong. I'm kidding. They're a terrible team, but they did pick up Chris Taylor, and he's been hitting, so there's that. Christopher Morel has been hot. Trevor Story, we mentioned him earlier. He's been hot. Ty France has actually been hot, and Winseal Perez, who's a guy who no one will ever pick up, but he's been hot.
Yep, that's some good names there. Gray. I don't know. Winseal might get picked up in only leagues. He'll get picked up in those. It's good to give people a wide variety of names to pick up, whether they're available in 90% or 99%. Streaming options, Gray. Jamison Tyon versus Pittsburgh. Edward Cabrera at Washington. Clark Schmidt at Kansas City. Bailey Falter versus Miami. Charlie Morton versus the Angels. Dustin May at San Diego and versus San Francisco. Bryce Elder versus Colorado. Jack Leiter at Minnesota. And Miles Mikolas versus Toronto and at Milwaukee. There's some starts. As always, if you have specific questions, you can find us on Twitter. I am at Razzbeaton. Gray's at Razzball. YouTube.com/Razzball Fantasy or on Razzball.com in the comment sections. Hopefully you can make the right lineups. Just losing my ability to speak here at the end. Hopefully you can make the right lineup selections this week. Get your teams moving in the right direction as we are in the middle of it, Gray, here in June. Hopefully if you played in the Razz Slam, you got part of your fab bids in, the last one of the season. And I'll talk to you later, Gray.
All right, Lates.